wanted to reflect on what Michael was just saying, a couple of thoughts on that. The first one is that there are some governments that are moving already in that direction. So I understand that in the UAE, for instance, in Dubai in particular, but precisely on this service, the car purchase service. So there is the development of an app that provides you both with the title for the vehicle when you purchase it, but also options for insurance. So you work with the private sector so that in your app you have both the public service and some opportunities for private service provision, and then you have a PPP arrangement between the two to make sure that the data is shared appropriately and managed properly. And that takes me to my second point, which is maybe a bit more provocative. But so we've been talking quite a bit, and we also say the same thing often about making sure that governments are not left behind, right, by the pace of technology and by the pace of the private sector. And it's very true. I mean, it's something that we all experience in our daily lives wherever we live. I would posit that we need to be more ambitious than that. I think that the government has the potential to lead the way in some respects. Let me give a couple of respects. One of them is in terms of the stewardship of the data and the quality of the regulatory environment in which that data is held. There is something going on around the world, which is the tech clash, a backlash against technology. That is happening. It's happening in relation to big social media companies. There have been major breaches. What you mentioned in Estonia has never had breaches. Well, you know what? There's been Cambridge Analytica. There have been other breaches in the private sector, a number of them. And so consumers and citizens are the same people. They're just two sides of the same coin. And so consumers are getting concerned about tax evasion, or the fact that a lot of big companies are not paying their dues when it comes to digital-based taxation. And they're concerned about privacy increasingly, and about the way in which data is managed. And so governments have the opportunity to do two things. One, to move to a predictive service delivery model, which is at least as good as, if not better, than what Amazon or Netflix or anybody else or on YouTube can do, which is doing exactly what Jessica was saying, using the data that you have already, and governments have a wealth of data about individuals, to enrich the data set that corresponds to you as an individual, and on the basis of that, propose some services proactively, right? Rather than being reactive, just anticipating, oh, your baby's born, well, we know that in a few weeks you're going to need vaccination, we know that in a few months you're going to need a creche or a kindergarten, and we know that in 3 years you'll need a school, etc. We already know that the day your child is born. Well, we can work around that. But then the other thing that the government can do is hold itself to very high standards in terms of data protection, in terms of ethics in the use of artificial intelligence, and in terms of being a good steward of the information that the public puts at its disposal.